Hey, y'all, listen. Happy Wednesday. Welcome in the building. Happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday. Welcome in the building. Let me tell y'all something. Tonight's title is called Circus. One day, someday, I don't know if it's going to be sooner or later. Hopefully it's sooner because Diva's 55. See, my computer acting up already. Who trying to stop me from being great tonight? But one day, y'all going to give me my flowers. Y'all need to put some flowers in the chat. One day, y'all going to give me my flowers. I told y'all the Southern District of New York for that Diddy trial, they ran a whole circus. A full-blown circus. Get your popcorn, your cotton candy, the ringmaster, a whole circus. So what happened today? The head prosecutor, the lead, Maurene Comey, she got fired. They fired her. She got fired. And I said, oh, ain't this interesting? I appreciate y'all. I see the flowers coming through the chat. I appreciate y'all. Hit that like button too. She got fired. Can anybody take a wild guess why? She put a whole bunch of people on that stand that she knew was lying. She knew when she walked into this trial that they overcharged. And I told you, I heard they spent $500 million so they could take one man down. And they did it to themselves. And people are saying, oh, they're going to come after the co-conspirators. How you going to come after the co-conspirators to the one you said was leading the whole thing was found not guilty on the most serious charges? So you going to come after the co-conspirators and say and do what now? And then after she lost, she couldn't even humble herself. She lost, and then she wanted them to put him in jail for 20 years for purchasing people for sex. When Damian Williams left that case in their lap, she should have went to her boss and said, I'm not your girl. I'm not the one. I'm not doing this. We got nothing. Damian left me with a bunch of tapes of people just rubbing baby oil in each other and having sex. I'm not doing it. But she took it on. And she took it on because she was the same person that guy, what's his name, Ghislaine, from the Jeffrey Epstein case. She figured it was a slam dunk getting her locked up. She thought it was going to be a slam dunk with Diddy. You know, one thing they tell you is never underestimate your opponent. Never underestimate your opponent. She slept on Mark. And to be honest with you, I was going in and out with Mark too. I was sleeping on him a little bit too. I'm like, yo, Mark, what you doing? But Mark trumped her. She was playing checkers and Mark played chess. And then even if you lose a case, you should come out and do a press conference and thank the jury. Because you picked the jury. The prosecution had their hands all over that jury. Everybody they wanted on that jury was in the jury. Because the defense said they knocked out off the bat. They used all of their power that they had because you got a certain amount of people you could just dismiss and don't even have to explain it. They said they dismissed about 7 black people. So that jury was pretty much hand-picked by the prosecution. They underestimated the people they selected. They underestimated the defense team. And they think people were just straight stupid. They thought if they kept pumping out that Diddy's a monster, that would be enough. And now Maurene is jobless. She's jobless. She's fired. And what she should have did was to back down on them charges before she even took them in that courtroom. But instead, she added on more charges. Instead, she fed into the hype that everybody was pumping at me. The feds are 99% chance they win. They always win. That's what all the people was telling me from day one. And they kept telling us, wait, the evidence is coming. Well, we waited 7 whole weeks, and the evidence never showed up. The evidence, if you go back to when they raided their house, the Diva told you they didn't have nothing. So the Southern District of New York literally tried to put 20 on 10. Then they got egg in their face. And what they do, they fired the woman. Well, she should have spoke up for herself. But I'll take my flowers. We'll talk about it. Like I said, the title of the night is called CIRCUS. Then we got Nick Cannon. And Sasuke, you do not, because he pardoned Eric Adams, and Eric Adams didn't even step foot in the jail. We got Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon is about the foolery. Always have been and always will be. And I urge the people, because, you know, everybody's like, Diddy's a monster, get him off the streets. I'm not here to argue that. But if you want to get all the monsters off the streets will be empty. Because everybody got some shenanigans with him. It's just what level. Nick Cannon left his seed in 6 different women. And he think it's the biggest joke going. He has a podcast that's going to help with relationships. I will die single before I call into that podcast to get advice from Nick Cannon. Then on top of that, he also said, because he had 5 kids in 1 year. 5 of his kids was born all in the same year. And he said he was reckless. So this is a legacy you're leaving on film for your kids to see later on, that, you know, you was just being reckless, and that's how you ended up having all them kids in the same year. You should have did the typical nonsense that people said, you was made out of love. But no, your kids got to hear that you was being reckless. The Can is a joke. And he's making a mockery of the whole situation. A relationship podcast. And the fools that call in and listen to him, good luck to y'all. Then we got this fitness influencer. Pregnant. And she found out through the DMs, because the lady started DMing her, that her boyfriend was cheating on her. Not with 1 person, not with 2, not with 3, not with 4, not with 5. She said 25 females. But you know what I give to this chick? What I give up to her is, a lot of times people, they don't want to hear about their mate doing anything. And they get mad at you. They get mad at you. They don't want to hear about, you know, their mate. They cursing you out. They calling you all kinds of names. But this girl, she thanked the people that told her. And she said something y'all feel that women don't have no power to do. Because all the people in the Diddy orbit that was a female, y'all said they ain't have no power to lead, to say no, to stop, none of that. This chick, when she found out that her man was sleeping with 25 people, jeopardizing her health and the baby health, she said, I'm done. She said, I'm done. And she thanked the ladies that told her. She didn't curse them out. She didn't say y'all are 304s. She didn't call them no type of names. She told them thank you. And she said, I'm going to be all right. She said, pray for me, pray for my baby. And she said, I'm out. And she said he ain't offered no apology. Matter of fact, he told her, why is she online dogging him out? Child, some of these men is out of control. But listen, I'm glitching and I did hardwire in, but you know what? The party must continue. It's trending topics and we got to continue on with trending topics, okay? I'm going to try to figure out why my computer want to act up. The Southern District of New York don't want me to talk about Maurene, but we're going to talk about it. So y'all know what I need in the chat? I need a what? I need a choo-choo. Hold aboard, everybody. It is Wednesday night trending topics and we got stuff to talk about. The title is simple. It's called CIRCUS. Maurene Comey from the Southern District of New York, the prosecutor on the Diddy trial, been fired. All of y'all was 10 toes down that they did the best job ever and was blaming the jury. Who gets fired when they doing a good job? Who? Let me bring the people on in the building because I'm glitching up here. Hey, Felicia. Hey, Callie.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Wayne. Hey, Felicia. All right. Hey, listen, the computer, you know, this internet trying to stop me, but we ain't doing that. We're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it because, you know, the people was all emotional. The Southern District of New York did a good job, but she's fired. Maurene Comey, the lead prosecutor in the Diddy trial, she gone. They fired her. First of all, she should have came out and did a conference. She should have talked to us because she knew this was a circus. Because listen, also too, some of the people that was on the stand, they had to prep them about 20, 30 times. If you got to prep somebody for the truth, that's problematic. Oh, shoot. Let's see. Why is the thing? My thing is just being messy today. Uh-oh. Tony said just like her father. All right. Is it going to come up here? All right, I'm going to start going through it. Hopefully it'll come up soon. So Justice Department fires Maurene Comey, prosecutor on Epstein case and the daughter of ex-FBI director, and the prosecutor on the Diddy case, okay? The Justice Department has fired Maurene Comey, the daughter of former FBI director James Comey, and a prosecutor in federal cases against Sean Diddy Combs and Jeffrey Epstein. Two people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press on Wednesday. There was no specific reason given for a firing from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. According to one of the people who spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity to discuss personal matters. Her termination comes shortly after she prosecuted Combs, who was acquitted of trafficking and racketeering charges. The rapper was convicted of lesser prostitution-related offenses. The Justice Department recently appeared to acknowledge the existence of an investigation into James Comey. Though the basis for that inquiry is unclear, he was abruptly fired by Trump during his first administration in 2017. Listen, she's fired. And they're going through about her daddy. I'm not going through all of that. And also, I don't know if you, Gessline, I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She also wants her case looked into. You know, once Diddy got found not guilty on the higher charges, she wants her case looked into. Now, I don't think she's getting out or anything, but she does want it to be looked into. Callie, what are your thoughts?
Oh gosh. Now I'm gonna say this. Sometimes you gotta know when to quit.
That
And
part.
I believe that probably about the 20th time they talked to these witnesses, they probably knew they didn't really have a case.
Mm.
I have a theory. My theory is that the problem was he was already in jail. He wasn't granted bail. I think had he been on bail, they would have just kept pushing the trial back until people kind of forgot about it and then they would have dropped the charges. But because he was already in jail, they kind of decided, well, we can't just let him go. So they tried to make a case that wasn't there.
Mm.
And I think how we got to the whole trafficking thing is because you got to remember this lawsuit was meant to scare him into a settlement. So I think they just started throwing everything into the lawsuit to try to say if we file this, it's going to destroy your career. So just settle. Like they were just making up anything, throwing anything in there, just putting words in there. And I think that's how we got to trafficking. Someone else also mentioned that this lawsuit was actually based on an alleged book that she was writing, which was probably also embellished. So what I'm getting at is that there never ever was any trafficking. Like it just never happened. And I think they knew that, but they kind of thought that they could confuse people into what the definition of trafficking in RICO is. Because even you heard a lot of people saying, well, when you use your employees and blah, 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 I'm like, that doesn't make an entire business a criminal enterprise. Well, when you use company funds, that's embezzlement. That's a completely different crime, which he wasn't charged with. So I'm not surprised because this is horrible that they wasted everyone's time and this amount of money to try a case that they probably knew. They talked to these people 20 times. Probably after about the fifth time talking to these witnesses, that there was no case.
Mm. Well, see, somebody said Jane Doe, Amy J said Jane Doe got Maurene fired. No, it was every witness on that stand. They put Bono on there and she was allegedly still dealing with some substances, if you ask me. They put Dawn Richard up there, and in the alternate juror said herself, nobody believed the word that came out of her mouth.
Well, they needed Jane to make the time frame. That's the only reason why they put Jane up there. That was in order to make it be a continuous action within the time frame that is allowed for these charges. They needed a more recent quote unquote victim. So that they had to include Jane in order to even file these charges. Vanna actually got up there and not only turned out to be a liar, she actually let the jury know that Cassie was lying about something. And so at that point, it's like, well, what can we believe from Cassie? Because we know pretty much for a fact now that she lied about, she didn't see this balcony thing happen. We see it in her own words that she didn't see it happen. So Vanna, in my opinion, should have never been included in this entire thing because that made Cassie's entire testimony questionable. But again, they never had a case. I don't think they ever had a chance of. I'm surprised he was found guilty of anything, but I guess they kind of couldn't get out of the transport thing. Like there was no way to say that it wasn't, that he wasn't transporting them to meet with these workers. So, yeah.
It's messy. Thank you. Felicia, your thoughts?
Oh, wait, what a Wednesday. What a Wednesday. Oh, I have so many thoughts. But girl, Maureen, you got exactly what you deserve. The door. See ya. Don't want to be it. Okay? It has been reported that this case, this trial, has run nearly $500 million. And some of us understood that if Mr. Combs had been found guilty on the RICO, they could have immediately seized his assets and got to paying off all these bills. So what bills you talking about, Miss Felicia? Okay, when people come in to testify, they got hotel stay, they got meals, They got transportation. Remember, Jane kept saying, oh, I got to be home by Thursday. I got to be home by Thursday. Well, it was the Southern District of New York who was financing her coming out here, staying at the hotel, her meals, her transportations, things like that. The depositions, if I got it right, Mia was deposed 20-something times. Every time she got deposed, there were people who had to be compensated for being present. Deontay was deposed about 12 times. And whenever it got to be too much, he had to go outside and smoke some weed. And then he'd come back and he'd be even more confused. And then they say, okay, he said he had to come back. So pretty much they were using it like, I guess, frequent flyer miles, honey. You know, just fly me in. I'll stay in New York for a couple of days. It's all good. And they were like, yeah, it's all right, because Mr. Combs going to pay for it. Well, a not guilty verdict meant Mr. Combs not paying for it. He's not paying for those 2 raids on his house by Homeland Security. That was a lot of personnel. That was a lot of heavy machinery and artillery. And no, he's not paying for that. No, he's not paying for all of this testing and these forensics. He ain't paying for the jury consultant who was sitting in the jury room, in the courtroom every day at $600 an hour. So why do I say all of that? So now you take a loss on 3 of the 5, and the 1, 2 that you needed, okay, to be able to seize his assets, okay? And so you don't get that. So where you getting the money now to pay the people of the United States government? And what did Miss Comey do? She did a Fonnie Willis. Here she is 2 weeks ago to this day, when they're talking about bail and sentencing and Mr. Combs being able to go home and whatever, Miss Comey says she wanted 20 years. She wanted 20 years. Well, Fonnie Willis did something very similar. Very similar. Things went boom in that case. The judge was taken off the case. They were trying to negotiate plea deals with, if I got it right, it was about 8 or 9 lawyers in that room, and they were all out there trying to do a side plea deal and get their clients off, and things got tied up. And one of the gentlemen, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, his lawyer said that he had reached out to work out a deal, and they were very busy with so many others, and he didn't get a chance to talk. And so the judge says, well, to the prosecution, is that deal still on the table? And the prosecutor stood up and she said, well, not to my knowledge. She said, well, please, the judge said, please reach out to the DA's office, see if the deal is still on the table. And they called, and the Fonnie Willis came back with, no, that deal's not on the table anymore. And what happened? That man was found not guilty on 60-something charges. Crazy stuff. Maurene Comey was not paying attention. When, you know, they say, learn how to read the room, see how the tide is moving. She wasn't paying attention. And she took the lead, and she was overly zealous, overreaching. And even in her moment of, well, I did win something here, she was non-negotiable. Now, we talk about precedents all the time up here in terms of legal terms. If you give this man 20 years for prostitution, okay, you're setting a standard for what all the other men are going to get, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
to say, and I'm glad Callie's up here because Callie could confirm for me that it's rare for a John to be brought in and be prosecuted and found guilty and charged, that this is a state level situation. But she wanted to go federal. She wanted to go 20 years, and she didn't have the money to pay this back. So on a Wednesday, a hot, stinking Wednesday, They told her, girl, it's over.
Go home.
And go where she is. Now, Diva didn't put her on the docket, and I hope you let me 2 minutes here with Deborah Crew. So who's Deborah Crew? Deborah Crew is the CEO of Diego. She left today too. She gone. Mutual agreement. Out the door. She was the one that was in negotiations with Mr. Combs over his deal for Ciroc. And guess what, folks? They haven't been making any money. None. So she and Maurene are both gone today. Let it be a cautionary tale about your economics, because that's what I'm always talking about, economics. Sometimes we can go too far. We could be too in. We're not seeing the full picture. And you can end up hurting yourself and your family because you want to be right, not get it right.
Ooh.
I encourage you to work getting it right instead of being right, because you can be economically out. I'm done.
Woo. Well, you said a word right there. She just wanted to be right instead of getting it right. And she should have known once she started talking to those people, we don't have nothing. How about this? Before she even started talking to the people, when they started combing through the evidence and they started watching those freak off tapes and they just saw people having relations, nobody getting substances shoved down their throat, she should have been like, okay, judge, I don't know what Damien left me here with, but it's nothing. Julius, your thoughts? Are you there, Julius? All right, I'm not here. Is everybody else here in Julius? All right, I'm not hearing Julius. I know my computer's acting up. But can everybody else hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I don't know, Julius.
I can hear you. I can hear
okay.
you. I don't know what happened with Julius. Okay.
Yeah, maybe Julius go out and come back in. All right. So anyway, y'all, Maurene is out. Maurene is out. And let me tell you, what was I going to say? You know, they were supposed to be currently working on finding, because the judge gave them this charge. The judge charged both sides, with the defense and the prosecution. We're going to find precedent cases so he can figure out how to sentence Diddy. So they had to go find cases where, you know, somebody who was charged the way what Diddy was charged with, what was the longest or the shortest sentence that they got. So you know what the prosecution probably found? They probably found exactly what the Mark was recommending. I think they said 21 to 24 months or something like that. Mark was recommended, and they wanted to start off at 5 years. Katrina, you're in the building. What are your thoughts?
I'm just getting here, Diva. I think they should have halted on this whole lawsuit, especially when the first prosecutor stepped down, because he was the one that brought the case up. I mean, they didn't have their ducks in a row. I mean, we're not saying Diddy is innocent or guilty, but if you coming with me with some charges, you better bring the full power. Because I think that if he stepped down, I think they should have halted that investigation till they got everything together and came in the courtroom with more than freak off tapes. I mean, it was just ridiculous. There's nothing brought anything, and everybody that came on that stand, like I said, they didn't want to be there. They was pressured to be there. It was either that or you were going to be a defendant. So, like I said, I think they should have halted that whole case until they had everything um in a row. And he left them in a mess. He left them in a mess, and I already said it. I mean, I think I could do lottery tickets. The fix is already in, because I think Diddy's coming home, because I'm quite sure he's going to get a pardon. But we'll see how it goes. But they, like I said, they messed that up themselves. I told you they don't like losing money, and they realize they have lost a lot of money, and that's why they got fired. The same thing with Fannie Willis. Look at all the stuff that she did, Fonnie, whatever her name is, and all those people are gone. And look what happened to her. They should have took a page from her book and realized if you ain't got your stuff together, don't go to no courthouse. But that's all I got.
Oh, thank you, Julius. Your thoughts?
Always have your ducks in a row when you go to a courthouse, like Katrina said. If you don't have it together, don't show up in the court of law.
Well, it's not about them not showing up. They the one that brought the charges. So it's like you don't bring the charges against somebody. But the unfortunate part for Maurene is she inherited this case. This is Damian Williams who started the shenanigans, and she should have stepped up and said, you know what? I there's nothing here. So he started it. He left them with a bag of mess. And it's terrible. And I think he was in cahoots with Tony Busby, Tyrone Blackburn, and not a near one of their people from their lawsuits could come to the Southern District of New York and help them take Diddy down. Tony Busby was yelling about how many minors he had. He said about 13, 14. He said he was going to do lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Surely, if they would have had a person that was a minor at the time, and that person would have been on the witness stand telling their story, I don't think there's a juror out there that would have been like, they would have been like, nah, this, mm-mm. So Tony Busby never showed us the minors, but he was allowed to go on TV and do a whole press conference and give a 1-800 number. And he claims he's 10 toes down that he still got more cases to file. I think a lot of people, and I'm not here to say, I can only go by what went down in the courtroom. I don't know what he did because, and you know why I don't know? Because even the people that was in his orbit don't know. But then you got other people that they 10 toes down. How dare you? You know what Diddy did. How do I know what Diddy did? And the people that was in his orbit can't even tell us what he did. Nobody.
Diddy probably can't remember what he did.
That part. That part. No, don't none of them want to tell the story straight. Nobody remember nothing. Everybody half telling stories. But I told you why they half telling stories, because they were part of the shenanigans too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Felicia.
Thank you, Diva. But if just a couple of more minutes, I'd like to hear some of the feedback from you and from the other panelists now, because we had people come forward after the verdict and write the judge and say they feel threatened and intimidated. Don't let that man out. Don't put him back on the street. I'm terrified. I'm frightened, blah, blah, blah. Miss Ventura's attorney, Doug Richter, was right there saying that, she's feeling X, Y, Z. And for these reasons, we're asking that he get the full charge. And remember, Maurene Comey, for those who may not, because there was this piece that came up, I think, on July 11th, she added enhancements. Yes, she did. She added a 0.4 enhancement on the 2 guilty charges. So what do you all think is going to happen now?
Well, I think that, to be honest with you, Felicia, Maurene, everybody on the prosecution side in the Southern District of New York, including the judge, after that verdict came down, they all got spoken to. They were very arrogant. And I believe, this is a diva thought, everybody, that they were 10 toes down. That when the jury came back and was asking some of the questions that they were asking, they were 10 toes down the prosecution, that this thing was going in their favor. So when it didn't go in their favor with all the charges, they were in shock. If you ask me, they was in complete and utter shock. I don't care if you win or lose. Just like when you see these basketball games and you at the end, they have the teams line up and just slap each other here, no matter who won, who lost. The prosecution should have came outside and did a press conference. And at the very least, they should have thanked the jury. Even though it didn't go the way they felt it was going to go, they should have came out there and said thank you to that jury who spent 7 weeks of their life taking notes, doing all the shenanigans, watching one of their fellow jurors get kicked off and told to go home, knowing that another juror, even though they was instructed to shut their mouth, was speaking to somebody because they got a text and they got to stay. Had to endure sitting there watching freak-offs in 11 minutes, and you don't say thank you to them? That alternate juror said they kept showing the Intercontinental Hotel video frame by frame over and over and over again. And for what? This was a RICO case. And you don't come out there and thank that jury? You piece of trash for doing that. They should have came out there, whether they won or lost or however they felt, they should have came out there bold and tall and did a press conference. And yeah, Maurene is going to be the fall guy for a person. Why? Because she was the lead prosecutor. And she had the ability to say enough. But instead, what they did superseding charges on top of the mess that Damien gave them. So yeah, you got to go home, Maurene. Go to your desk, pack up your pictures, your pencils, your stapler, whatever else you got. Take this box and you got to go home. Byron, you're up. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
So
you're safe now because I see you driving. Yes.
Yeah, I am. So my question I wanted to ask is, do you think some of the people who are writing saying, "Oh, don't release Diddy because I fear for my life," do you think those are the people who potentially picked their sides early, did a bunch of grimy stuff against Diddy, probably, conspired and did all, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people thought Diddy was done. And I think a lot of people pick sides early, and now they don't know what Diddy is going to do with this information, or even not even outside of Diddy, maybe their own guilt is driving them to be in all of this supposed fear, which I don't think Diddy probably got anything for any of these people when he's released. I think he's gonna be trying to, stay out of the face of any illegal activity. But, do you think that may be the cause of a lot of their angst and fear?
Oh, I think it is, right? I definitely think it is. Sebastian, Sasuke, thank you, babe. She threw the link out there for you again to click on it. Listen, yeah, they all have this fear. But my thing is, when you think a mobster, when you think somebody, because it's like they're equating him to like he's a mobster, right? Mobsters, they don't give a darn. If he really had that much heat and smoke for them, before this court case even came up, he would have had the heat and smoke for them. You know what's interesting to me? The one young lady who's 10 toes down that Diddy pow-powed her in between her eyes at that club that back, I forgot what year that was. She has been sticking to her story for over, I'm going to say at least 10, 15 years. The woman is still alive. The woman is still alive. Now, I will say that she has claimed too that, Diddy has been messing with her, doing stuff to her throughout the years or whatever the case may be. But it's interesting. I forgot what year they didn't go back to. I think that's when her case was. But she's still alive is my point. And these other people, they're so afraid he's going to do X, Y, Z, but all of them are breathing to still tell their story. It's just interesting to me. Sebastian, you're in the building. What are your thoughts?
Well, hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good night.
Oh.
So, me personally, I have a heart for Maurene. I have a heart, and I have a heart a strong heart for her. Why? Because she is not at fault, in my opinion. Damian Williams took this case and just did all what he did with it, the raids, everything, and then just resigned in November. And most of these things were already pre-scheduled and stuff. So Maurene had to take all of that responsibility. She couldn't just throw out the case. Millions of dollars were already spent on the case. She couldn't just throw it out. It would have just been a waste of money. But it's still come to find out it's still a waste of money of what happened now. But still. So I have a heart for her. It's sad the way she was thrown out, but she failed. It's true. But it's not because of her fault. It's because of Damian Williams. If we give Damian deserves more of the responsibility of what happened to P. Diddy and everything that's happening now than Maurene does. It's like telling me, like, let's say I'm a doctor and then there was another doctor taking care of a patient. That was not my responsibility. The patient's 10 times worse. The patient is 10 times worse. Then I actually get the patient because the doctor passed or left. And now the whole thing is bad. Like that's not my fault. Maurene deserves a heart. We need to have a heart when we're talking about her. We need to give her mercy and grace. It's not okay. It's not okay. No.
You know what, Sebastian? Sebastian, do you remember the last time we talked about this when you was up here? You said corruption. Okay, that's what went down in the Southern District of New York.
And I got
no heart for Maurene because when she picked up the case, it's no different than you working a job, Sebastian, and then your co-worker gets fired and your boss says, you got to take all of their cases, and you pick it up and you like, oh my God, she did this. She paid this one wrong. Are you going to just sit there? Are you going to go back to your boss and say, I'm looking into this, but she left a mess behind? Or he left a mess behind?
It's hard to do that when you're the Southern District of New York with a 98% conviction rate and the other 2% is a mistrial. It's hard to do that, Diva. It's not that easy.
It's not that easy. But it is hard. It's not that hard.
Truth, that part, Amy. The truth always works. But wait a minute. Hold on one second, because I got to address this unique. Felicia, do you want to handle this or you want me to handle this? Because they keep saying I'm lagging, but I'm about to handle this. But if you want to handle this for me, you can. She said, it's clear the panel haven't followed the news. Oh, my gosh. Trump supporters are turning on him.
We have.
He needed the heat off of him. It's all about Trump closing the Epstein files. Do y'all want me to deal with this?
Go ahead. You got this. You got this. But if you ain't got it, I got it. Go ahead, girl.
I got it. Let's go. What up?
Okay. So hold on one second. Wait, hold on one second, Julius. Because my thing is lagging. Y'all gotta tell me if y'all don't hear me, because I'm about to talk.
I can hear you, Diva.
Okay, I appreciate you, Amy J. Listen, let me tell you something unique. Thanks for stopping by, first of all. But second of all, on this panel here, we always stay in the news. And when I'm lacking, the panel kicks in and gives me the information. We don't be playing over here. Every story we do, we take it seriously. We break it down and we give you the facts. There were things that Diddy did while he was in jail. There was things that Mark did that I didn't like, and I said it. Even though people want to come over here and say, I'm being paid by Diddy, whatever. You know, Diva, I stand by what I say when I say it.
Hey.
So, okay, he's mad at her father. Yeah, but she was getting fired regardless because they spent $500 million on nothing.
Basically.
She's not stupid. This woman went to law school. She knew when she sat in that chair and Damian left. She knew when she was disposing these people and they couldn't get their story straight, keep it straight, and they had confusing stuff. She knew she was in trouble. But instead of retreating, what did Maurene do? She added some more charges and she brought Jane in. And why did she really bring Jane in? Because they didn't have nobody else that was probably sober enough or that could remember the story or the lie they was going to tell.
Preach, Diva.
So she brought Jane in. Because you remember they had 2 other witnesses that told them, kiss my behind, I'm not coming. And if they was really serious about their case, I don't know nowhere else where you could get a subpoena and say, I'm not showing up. But if they thought that person was going to be sober enough, they would have enforced that subpoena. But you know why they didn't? Because they already saw how some of their other witnesses was getting on that stand and getting ripped. At the end of the day, the alternate juror told us nobody believed Don Richard. Let me tell you this too. You better buckle your seatbelts because I know it's going to ruffle some feathers. If Don Richard, if Cassie looked like Don, and if Jane looked like Don, he would have been found not guilty on all the charges. I promise you that. Because it's interesting to me that Don Richard, they just flat out said unanimously, nobody believed her. But Bonner was up there twisting stories, this and that. He didn't mention her. There was other people that got up there and said some confusing stuff. He didn't mention none of them. But they said 10 toes down, every juror was like, Don Richard is a liar. So I promise you this. If Cassie looked like Don, if Jane looked like Don, Diddy would be home right now with his kids.
Facts.
I just want to add one thing. I wanted to add something because it's after the fact that he didn't get convicted that they still were on that parade of trying to take him down. Instead of just saying he could be released on bond, they all huddled up, the 6-pack of white women, turned into complete Karens, and was like, the victims are afraid. What victims? There was no charge. He basically said he took people as prostitutes to cross the line. You inflated something that even by the law, even through their paperwork, the highest they ever gave somebody was they just basically said, don't come back. He left, stepped down from his position. Some politician stepped down from his position and never did a day in jail. So for them to do that shows that they just were not reading the room and getting the point. This trial, this whole circus is over. You all continued in this behavior, and that's what we all saw through the whole trial. A bunch of people brainstorming and just blitzing one man and making him into this super villain, as they say, and want everyone to go with it to put him in jail. I thought they would have learned their lessons. I didn't even know they didn't thank the jury. That shows to me that's what they were always on. If they can't get you to do what they want you to do, they have no need for you, even though you need this jury to convict him. You didn't like what you heard, so you went back to your natural ways of just going back to being nasty and rude. So nasty and so rude, like Neely Leaks. And I think that was wrong if they didn't thank those people for the time that they put in. And I think it's wrong that they even got his bail denied and asking for 20 years. Are you lost? You really need to go. Like, she needs to go. That's the first firing I have to agree with. You need to go somewhere else and have a sit down and never get back up. And y'all need never again have a group of women in that fashion and have no true evidence. Just leave it alone.
Let me add this to it too. They were ill-informed. Now, call Diddy what you want, but he know how to work certain things, right? He makes sense when it comes to certain things. At the 11th hour, he was like, I need a black female. He said, I need a black female lawyer. He had diversity on that team. He had a black male on the team. They needed some diversity over there in their corner. They also needed to wake up and understand that in this day and age, social media ain't no joke. They should have knew that after day one when all the YouTubers was out in the streets with the mainstream media. They dropped the ball. They didn't read the room. They failed the assignment. They got an F. But
And
I
like
knew they were going to get an F because I knew from the day one, from the moment they raided his homes, I said they got nothing. When you are promoting to us 1,000 bottles of baby oil, you got nothing. And you got some of those people out here with fake lawsuits claiming that when the baby oil was doused on me, I passed out, I fell out. Cassie herself said there was nothing in the baby oil. All
It
the
was just
nonsense
regular
that
old Johnson and
they
Johnson.
put on the streets was they thought that they was going to be able to tear his name down so much that jury, where they knew it was going to be hard to get an impartial jury that heard nothing about the case, they thought that jury was going to take the street smut and find him guilty of everything. And so they leaned back on their lack of evidence because they thought showing that video of Cassie getting beat down over and over and over again was going to make that jury find them guilty of everything, like the people were stupid. And that man said this wasn't a DV case.
Diva, can I speak for one quick second?
Yes, you can.
So, now, back on Dawn Fake Chard. I'm changing her last name purposely. When we went over her lawsuit, she said, and this is the catch-22 to the people. Come on now, let's remember this, people. She was a producer on the Love album. But yes, she said Diddy was so horrible. But then, why did you say you want to make money with your bro if he was so horrible?
Also, her producing partner came out in the very beginning and said that she was actually there during this supposed incident. She actually was the one who brought Don there, and she did not see anything like this, which is why she was never called to the stand. This happened way in the beginning when Don first made this claim. I knew this claim had never happened because there's no way Cassie would ask for $30 million and not mention this. It just didn't make any sense. But if I knew that, how come Maurene did not know that? Like, I just like,
because she's educatedly foolish.
And she put Don on the stand first. Like, that's like your first impression. Like, she was one of the first 3 witnesses, I think. And I'm like, what is this? So, yeah, this woman should retire. She should not be practicing law anymore. This is insane. And we should all be worried about people like her in positions of law enforcement because they can really harm people. This is something that could have happened to a regular person that didn't have money to defend themselves. And RICO charges are very broad. This could have been anybody. It didn't even have to be a man. It didn't have to do anything with S work or anything like that. They could have used it for anything. So people like her are dangerous, and she needs to be gone because there's no way in the world. I don't have a law degree at all. Never even took a class in law that I was able to deduce in the very beginning that they don't have any evidence. And I 100% believe the prosecution is behind all of these lawsuits.
Oh, I believe they connected with Tony Busby, Tyrone Blackburn, and you see what those 2 turned out to be. Tyrone getting arrested during the trial for running over a person that's trying to, get the processor, like, well, not run over, but hit him with his car. And yeah, Tony Busby, and then they should have got nervous when Tony Busby's stuff started to get debunked. They should have got nervous. Tyrone Blackburn has gotten spoken to by the courts for all of the way he trumped up and write his lawsuits up. Sure, they thought they had this thing in the bag. I know I'm lagging. I'm hardwired. Yes, you can.
I was going to say, before this trial, all we had was a video of Cassie being beat. And that video actually made people really want to know what was, like, I felt like that video was disgusting when I first saw it. But when they gave us the backstory, I'm not saying that I think it's wrong. I don't think it's still wrong she was beat. but it put so much context in it. They almost breathed life back into Diddy's career. Because so many people were like, Diddy's done. I would never listen to a song of his. I would never like even be associated with a man like that. Then you find out they're in the hallway fighting over drugs. Then you find out they've been in drug dens for 8 hours straight. Then you find out everybody who's working with them all were using him for drugs and partying.
Okay,
And
stop drugs so much, please, please.
Oh yeah, or substances.
Yeah.
oh, so they're all. I'm saying they all had a material gain from him. It wasn't just that they were afraid. The way they were telling these stories, I was so afraid. But then they'd be like, we had the best parties. Or when he's in a good space, everyone loves him. Then it started to turn into like, wait a minute. Should I be feeling all this anger? And these so-called victims are like speaking of him fondly, even with all the crazy and chaos. It would probably been better if he just saw the video and he went away with no charges. We would have never accepted him back in. But now that we have the whole story,
Yeah.
it makes it where people can breathe life back into his career. I just think the whole situation they planned for him, they just didn't get.
I agree. I think they actually victimized him, the government victim. So now people are looking at him like he's been a victim of the government. And also we got, like you said, the backstory. And then we got another camera angle where you could see a longer video and you can clearly see that these are two people fighting over a phone. It was not what they were trying to make that video seem to be. They weren't in front of the hotel room. They were way down the hallway in front of the elevator. And you can clearly see that he's trying to get his phone back if you watch the whole video. So
it just changes it because you just think he's just.
But we would have never seen those things had they not done this. Diddy would have been done. We would have just saw him DV a woman, and we would have it would have never been all of this. But now that they have taken a DVer and made him a victim, hey.
And they got people saying, well, let him heal. And I just think it's like, we would have never gotten here. People are actually feeling sorry for him. And I'm like, what?
I wanted to ask something. Diva, if you don't mind. What do y'all think that maybe this? I kind of blame us for this case, right? And when I say us, I mean black folk. I think the way we, because I was looking at social media and I was kind of just looking at a lot of the trends that were taking place. Everybody was trashing Diddy. Not just Diddy, though. Not just Diddy. I felt like we was going in on Diddy. We was going in on Beyonce. We've been going in on Jay-Z. I think a lot of us started to kind of hint at going in on Oprah and Tyler Perry around this time. It was almost like after the Cat Williams expose, people began to just kind of hate on our successful folk. And a lot of these rumors kind of gained a lot of traction online. And I think, here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that America loves a black boogeyman. They love a big black male boogeyman, and they love a public lynching of a big black successful boogeyman. That's their favorite pastime, to be able to watch the big black boogeyman. And I think we as a people putting, constantly trashing our people and trashing our successful people just gave white folks a green light. And they don't have to have all of the facts when it comes to us. They don't have to have a strong case when it comes to us, because in their mind, they like, I believe I can get them anyway. If I got enough black folk that will co-sign this, I can take down any black boogeyman, because all they got to do is talk about how we this and we that. They already do it. It ain't just like what you said about with Don Richard. How you think Don Richard is the only liar when you got the bungling chick up there blatantly lying, got caught with verifiable fact, but Don Richard is the only one you saw that was lying? How is this possible? You feel what I'm saying? And so it just goes to show you how easy they are willing to discredit us, how easy they are willing to paint a narrative against this big black boogeyman. And that's what I feel like we have to be careful with when we going against our people, like the Gene Deal, even the Tisa Tales with how she just blatantly lies and creates narratives. I'm not trying to, start no, drama. This all on me, but it's like, I just feel like doing that's dangerous, especially with black folks and black men specifically. That's just my, just my take.
But can I
Right.
say something real quick,
So
Diva?
I give one second, and then I'll let you in. I'll go around. I'll come to you, Katrina, then I'll go around. Let me say this. You will have the best example I can give is the young man that took the life of the CEO, right? He raised over, and he didn't raise himself. Somebody just started a GoFundMe for him, over $1 million+ for his defense. People are writing him love letters. They actually created a play. This is no joke. They created a play that sold out about this man. And this man is accused of taking someone's life. This is what they did. I never saw a headline saying this man was a monster. I never saw where they want this man to get the unaliving penalty. They want this man to walk free.
Well, actually,
And
Diva, the government is trying to...
Hold on, Sebastian. Let me finish. They want this man to walk free. You got other people that do crimes, and their community, they will either stay silent, but they will not do what we're doing to Diddy. I will say this. I'm not saying this man is innocent. Not by any means of just everything. He got a problem with putting his hands on the people at the very least, because that I saw with my own eyes. At the very least, he got a problem with putting his hands on the people. But if our people do something, we drag them to the bottom of the gutter. And then we will drag anybody who just simply say, can the person get their day in court, their fair trial? Diddy had his trial, and the people still don't give a darn that a jury said what they said. They're still saying, put him in the gutter. And every time I do a video, they're like, Diva, shame on you. You know what he did. How does Diva know what this man did when witnesses got on the stand and couldn't tell us what he did? Jane, at the end of her testimony, you better read it and check it. Jane said out of her own mouth, I don't really know what happened to me. I'm paraphrasing it. But she didn't say, they said, well, you ST'd, such as trafficking? She said, I don't know. How do you expect a jury to say you were when you came out your own mouth and said you don't know? And see, that's the foolery with people. They want to just go by their feelings. They want to go by this man, he put his hands on Cassie, so he should spend the rest of his life in jail. Well, then a whole lot of men need to be in jail. But we villainize our own people. All they got to do is give us a crumb, and we will make a whole cake out of the crumb. And we will drag and bury the person. A lot of these urban legends that Diddy allegedly did, I'm questioning them now that the people are saying. Because if Al B. Shore knew so much, he's sober. Why didn't the Southern District of New York have him on the stand? He knows so much.
He doesn't know.
So,
Yeah,
you got, well, hold on 1 second, people. You got ex-bodyguards that they know so much. They know so much. The Southern District of New York needed them. Why wasn't they on the stand?
They haven't worked
And
for
a
Diddy
few
in
of them
years.
said, hold on, please. A few of them said that they was called by the Southern District of New York. That they called them. They went down there and spoke to them. So after they spoke to you, the best they had for us was Cassie, Jane Doe, Bonner, Capricorn Clark. You got to make it make sense. It can't make sense. You want to know why? Because there was no way they had proof to these legends they were talking about. Where's the minors? I'm still waiting for the minors. Still waiting for the minors. Katrina. And then I'm coming up to you.
Okay, I'm gonna make two statements. The thing of it is, if these women wanted to get Diddy, they had to go get people off the street to get Diddy. They wasn't the right ones, because Diddy's from the streets. And if you want to take down a person from the streets, you got to know people that's on the streets. And another thing, when we're talking about the black people that's been want to be taken down, these black people got to stop putting themselves in these positions that people want to take them down. They need to stay their tails out of these situations that every time they turn around, they get in a lawsuit. So if you don't put yourself in the pot, can't nobody boil you. So if you get yourself and you stay yourself out of these situations and leave life straight, then you won't have to worry about nobody coming after you. These people, they get in these positions, they get this money and stuff like that, and they get the big head thinking, can't nobody touch me. But you forget, you still got that brown color on the top of your on top of your skin. Your skin is not pale. Your skin is black. So if they want to come for you, they're going to come for you. But the thing of it is, you got to make sure that you live in your life straight so they can't have nothing to come to you about. That's the whole thing. If they ain't got nothing on you, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you out here putting yourself in these situations, then you're going to have accusations coming towards you because you know they want your money. They want to they don't want to see you with this money. So they're going to do everything they can to get it from you. So, and you know this. And it's not like we don't know this. We know this. And no, we need to stop bringing each other down. But the thing of it is, they need to start lifting people up as well. Stay yourself out of these circumstances and none of this stuff will be happening. If you're not out there with your hand in the cookie jar, can't nobody say I seen you with your fingerprints. So stay out of those situations. You already know they want to get this money from you anyway because they don't feel like you should have this type of money. No way. So they're going to do exactly what they need to do to get it from you. But if you're not doing anything out there to cause these situations, to cause these accusations, to do all the stuff to come towards you, then you won't have nothing to worry about. But that's just me. But that's all I got.
Thank you. Callie. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brian. Then I'm going to go to Callie. Go ahead.
Just real quick, I was just going to say, lawsuits don't have to be true. And a lot of the things that Diddy, a lot of the accusations, as we're finding out now, are baseless. And so at some point, it's like, damn, like, how do I live? You know what I mean? Like, how do I live? Do I need to be perfect? I mean, at the end of the day, people persecuted Jesus. I think we got to be careful with, taking accountability for things that I just don't think you can be held accountable for. When you got a target on your back, you got people gunning for you, sometimes they get you. Sometimes they just get you. And if we open the door for that to be the case, we'll just continue to get got. So we got to continue to be vigilant. That's just all I wanted to add to that.
Thank you. Increased matters. Can we talk about this though? Actor Steve Collins admitted to touching kids, and we didn't hear a peep from anyone.
I'm not even sure who Steve Collins is, but no, I don't remember hearing about that.
You can Google it. But yeah, there's this what's his name now too? I forgot the other guy's name, but he has like this long black curly hair. I gotta think of his name. His name won't come to mind right now. But he got all of these accusations against him of SA. And you're not hearing nothing too crazy about him. Every now and then you see a story. Callie, did you want to add anything else?
Oh, well, I would just like to say, I think that Diddy is a victim of his own hype, in a sense of, like someone just said, he's not from the streets. Diddy did not grow up in the hood. He's not from the hood. I think he had some cousins or something that was from the hood, and he didn't even grow up with them. This is all like this hype that these rappers create around themselves. And I think that a lot of that was what they were trying to play on in this case. Like, oh, he was standing there like a Marvel villain and la, 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 la. And it was like, I'm going to be honest with you. These old people telling these old stories, I think they're all grifters. I think if there was anything to these stories, it would have been rolled up in that RICO. That's what RICO is for, is their broad charges. If there would have been anything to the bodyguard, Keefe D, all of these other people that claim Diddy did this, this, and that, it would have been put in that RICO. I promise you they wouldn't have got up there with that weak case. They got up there with that weak case because that was literally all they could find. Because this man is not really out doing all this stuff. This is all this hype that these rappers create around them. And then I think to somebody else's point, our people don't make it any better, because I feel like we have given Diddy all this power that he actually does not have just because he's rich. But you have to look at where the money came from. The money basically came from him being an ambassador for other people's companies. Even Bad Boy was a label deal. It was not a independent record company that he owned and built. It was a roster of artists that he had found as an A&R person, and they gave him a label, just like they gave him a label of wine or tequila or whatever, but we still own the actual company. That's all. He's almost like one of the original brand influencers, basically. So he doesn't have all of this power. Even with Cassie and her career, this narrative, Cassie could have been the next Rihanna. Cassie's career was already over when she started messing with Diddy. In my opinion, that's why she started messing with him in the first place. If you look at when her single peaked at number 36, she was done. She started dating Diddy shortly after that. So, you know what I mean? All of this stuff, there's nothing to these people. To me, all of these people can go away. All of these people with these stories about Diddy can go away. Because you know what? If there was one shred of evidence, there is no way in the world this woman would have sat there, humiliated herself, ruined her career, and lost her job. These people are telling tall tales. And we know Diddy's not innocent, but I think that what we saw, what he was into, that's the scope of it. I don't think there is anything more to know. Honestly, I think he was on too many substances to be clear-headed enough to do anything more. So, I mean, as far as this goes, I personally think he's going to be released in October. And I think that there was already a huge possibility of that. And that's why they pushed the sentencing back so far, to make sure that he did serve more time, as much time as possible, because they probably going to be like time served. Because I do agree. I think that there was a talking to given by someone higher up saying like, look, you guys, this does not look good. It looks like you are framing this man. Y'all need to clean this up. And which in actuality, they were trying to frame him. Let's just be honest. They were trying to frame him for a completely different crime by piecing together these stories in that video from 10 years ago. Where also, we have to keep in mind, Cassie never called the police on him. There was no restraining order. There was no nothing. So it was just like grasping at straws. But hey, I don't think that she's going to be the last one fired when this whole thing. It might be some more of that 6-pack of white women might lose their careers behind this. We shall see.
Felicia, anything else you want to add?
Before she say anything, until they bring the Tate brothers in and the Abercrombie and Fitch, and the man, somebody he can't remember nothing. Don't worry about remembering nothing. You can be in a jail cell. You ain't got to worry about it. You won't remember you in jail. You just know you're in a cell. And the president releasing getting the Tate brothers back into the United States, but these people are walking out free, and Diddy is locked up, and they did just the worstest things, as we heard, than Diddy did. But they out free along with the president. So I mean, I don't see why. I mean, like I said, I ain't never seen Diddy did nothing. I want people through no window. And I don't know if he did or did not do it, but the thing of it is, that these people is free. Maybe he should be free as well. That's all I got.
Thank you, Felicia.
Yeah, I thank you, Diva. I'd like to wish Maurene good luck. She's got a really good education. She was well trained in the legal field. You know, you take a time out, Maurene. You know, you relax a little bit, and then come back, girl. Come back. You know, redeem yourself. Maybe go into private law and learn from your mistakes. I'm done.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead. We'll stay connected to this story. I'm sure, I don't know who they're going to have step up to the plate now that was on that team because Maurene was the lead. And like I said, they had work they were supposed to be doing that needed to come to the judge. I think he wanted it in like a couple of weeks. He wanted the case studies to show, what case previously in history where someone was charged with what Diddy is charged with, and and present it so when he does his sentencing. But I also told y'all early on that I thought the judge was full of it. He was running a whole circus. So now this judge has a very difficult job to do when it comes to October 3rd to do that sentencing. Because the last thing he wants now, you got somebody on your team that got fired. He was already, to me, being biased the whole time. And now, so he has to sit there and figure out, how do I just, do this thing and make it seem like finally we're being fair. Oh, yeah, for increased matters, yeah, or Comey and all of them book deals canceled. I think there was a ton of people banking on the fact they was ready to rake it in. They probably had the headlines ready, too, to be very honest with you. They was ready to rake it in when they thought Diddy was going to be guilty on all the charges. They was going to be throwing a party. But like I said, it was not professional of them to not come out there, do a press conference, and at the very least, thank that jury. The jury that they handpicked. Listen.
Now, the only thing they can write a book about is how they went to the Pussycat Theater. That's all they got.
Yeah, I mean,
They're probably trying to do a Ryan Murphy film and really dog his character out and put things that don't belong. Because just like Hallie said, a large part of what they used for that indictment came out of Cassie's book and her filing when she first put her lawsuit up. Even now I kind of question the whole theming on the nipples and playing with it. I think that was just extra to make people look at him.
I don't want to do all of that over here. I really don't care what that man did in his bedroom.
For me,
but I don't even care to go into that.
I feel like that just sensationalization of some of these, like when Dawn said she busted in the head with the pan. Some of that stuff is very sensationalized, and I kind of wanted to believe it. Even the story with Bonner saying she was hung over the thing, and I was like, this sounds like a real life, like Tony Soprano. And then to find out, like, these people are they're not completely honest about everything, and their lives are falling apart on the stand. So that's the part I'm talking about.
Yeah, let me just say this. I do want to address this. This is nothing to do. You just made me think about it. I'm sorry, I got distracted by the chat there. Let me just say this. And this is just in general. This is what the prosecution tried to do. They tried to distract us with all of the sex, but I never got distracted. Never got distracted. To me, if someone in that situation was being abused, someone in that situation was being forced. Okay, Abercrombie and Fitch, the guy literally said the door was locked. Diddy was in hotel rooms for most of them. They said the door was locked, and on top of the door being locked, they hired a security company, and the security company was not, everybody mute please, the security company was not allowed to let anyone out that room until Mike Jeffries said he was ready to let them out. So with Diddy, they were in hotel rooms. Like I said, because when you take in all those substances, eventually you're going to fall asleep, even if it's for 5 to 10 minutes. You could have picked up that phone in the hotel room because they all have them. And you dial the number and help. Just like when she was the hallway situation, security eventually came up. You could have picked up the phone and said help. So my thing, my whole thing here is I never got distracted. Oh, I don't care what Diddy like and don't like when it comes to relations like that. My thing is they told us, Rico, you spent the taxpayer dollars and you want to sensationalize what this man is doing in his bedroom? I'm not getting distracted by that. I don't care what body fluids he used where, none of my business. I could care less. Even that one worker now, that's Dave, going around telling us what happened, this, that, and the other. Sir, tell us why you're suing. Let's keep it clean and keep it pushing. And if the Southern District of New York didn't think they was going to catch us with this sex, they might have won a case. They might have got the results they wanted. But you know what? They also feel that Black people are over-sexualized. So they knew a lot of people was going to feed into all of that. And that's why week after week, headline after headline, they kept feeding us the sex, drugs, and rock and roll and hip-hop because they feel that's all we ever do. Where did they get that idea from? They watch a video and we got no clothes on, we shaking it, we twerking, we dropping it low and all of that. That's why they fed us all of this nonsense. Because they don't think we can think above it. Or at least they didn't think we thought we could. Or maybe they didn't, and that's why they didn't want no Black jurors on that jury, barely. So, you know, we get distracted sometimes by the nonsense. You can, listen, I can see through the smoke screen. I can see through the smoke screen. And so when they dug up, after they raided his home and they didn't find what they was looking for, they dug all up in his taxes. They dug and they combed through every one of his companies. And they could barely find money that he spent on these freak-offs connected to Bad Boy Records and all of that. That's why during the trial, they showed us one American Express bill that was $1 million, and he paid for the people that night with it, and then he paid for the hotel or whatever the case may be. And you know why they didn't find nothing? Because every time you turn around, that man was giving cash. And that's why when they arrested him, he had $9,000 worth of cash in the room. He dealt with cash. All the workers told you that Diddy went in the room, came back, and handed them his cash. Measure Man, I appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat. Preach, preach, preach. I tried to say it and got drug up and down the IG and YouTube streets. I gave up. Don't ever give up, Measure Man. Because the Diva don't. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much.
I think that's why all of us, like, I came to your channel more so because I felt like it was a echo chamber. And it's no matter what you were saying, like, if we get back to the facts of the trial, people wanted to make it a women's rights thing, and we have to fight for women, and we're not looking at the fact this is the federal court. This is federal law. It's going to affect not you, but everybody. Federal law is top dog. And I felt like that was the echo chamber I was trying to get out of. Because it's like, how much are we going to pay attention to this man's life and make it a crime? How long are we going to keep watching people come up there and tell stories on top of stories? It's just not making sense to me why he should go to jail for 35 years. It was, and when you would say it, like I know when I would say it online, it was almost as like they said that you were a supporter of Diddy. And I'm like, I don't think I'm supporting him. I'm trying to be balanced in my observation. This seems like a very emotionally charged trial. They're trying to get you to think more emotionally than critically. And but they don't want you to be, they want you to be extremely biased. And it got to the point that, like, it was certain YouTubers I usually go to just to hear their opinions. They became overwhelmingly across the board people taking advantage of this and making it into like a cult following of just crap news. Nobody was being completely honest. Everyone kept on saying, I see Rico. Do you see Rico? And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't see it. And Callie, we was on this strike for a long time. We were like, I don't see Rico. And everyone kept saying it was a Rico. Oh, the RICO is plain as day. Oh, the trafficking is plain as day. He trafficked her. I was just like, this is a really serious thing to kind of make a relationship where they showed up to red carpets and all the rest of this stuff, did all this relationship thing. They had vacations where they're dancing and smiling. And then people say, oh, she was in Stockholm syndrome. I couldn't get past that. And I couldn't get past it. So many people online were trying to put a circle into a square. It just didn't make sense to me.
Also, the way
Uh-huh.
that Dawn was viewed versus Vanna should let these women know that being a woman does not protect you from being looked at a certain way or not being believed. As a Black woman, myself and every other Black woman I know, we have been followed through the store, like we're shoplifting, all of these things. So I don't understand how we now got to the point where I honestly think that a lot of women feel that this doesn't affect them. They're exempt from this. This can't happen to them. And we also see women who are doing things like messing with students and stuff like that. What if you get accused of that? You know what I mean? It's just like people are just not thinking. It just really became this echo chamber. But to me, it's not even about Diddy as an individual. It was about the way that they were using the legal system. That's what really bothered me in this whole thing. And yeah.
I definitely wanted to add to that. You know, I really believe that this was about setting new precedents in case law. We're utilizing the RICO to not only criminalize relationships, but to also criminalize successful Black men. I really believe that the goal was to get Diddy and then unleash a wrath on a lot of other successful Black men for the most pettiest crimes, not about even the crimes itself, because obviously these people, you know, it's arguable if they even care about the crimes. I think they wanted to criminalize relationships and go after Black men that got a little bit of money and rob wealth. This was a wealth redistribution. They were planning on getting a wealth redistribution with Diddy. It did not work. Comey is out of here. They spent too much money on this trial, failed miserably. And they were looking to use this to set case law to go after other Black men, all to take money. They wasn't going to care nothing about no victims. It wasn't going to be nothing about no victims. It's people and family members right now with molesting uncles and aunts, right? That go years without even being detected. If they ever get detected, nobody even say nothing about it. Why is Diddy such a big target? The money. Why was other Black men gonna be a target? The money. And that's what I was afraid of.
I don't know if it would have
Excuse me,
stopped with
Chad.
Black
Can we
people.
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Can we keep the discussion on this chat? We don't bring other YouTubers over here. We don't like discussing them over there because we don't like that type of drama. So can we just, pertain it to the ones that we're talking about or to the subject we're talking about? No offense, y'all. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Katrina's my mod. That in Callie, I'm gonna come to you. Let me just throw this in there. I will say this, and I think Katrina kind of mentioned this. Too much is given, much is required. I say that a lot over here, right? And so, yeah, they could target you, but at the end of the day, it would be a witch hunt if there was nothing to pluck on, right? And although I think what he did would, to me, in my opinion, I think him thinking that he's hiring these workers, I think he thought he was safe, right? So I'm not forcing anybody. This is the business you in. I'm paying you. Come here and do X, Y, Z. Even though it's not right to pay for relations, I feel like that's how he thought he was safe, right? Because I didn't just pick Diva off the street and plucked her off of the street, and I'm making her do this for days in, days out. I'm paying somebody who this is their profession, and this is my boo who I asked. Jane said they laid in the bed together, and he asked her, are you down? She said yes. She just didn't know he was going to do it that quickly. Because when she came back out the bathroom, he's like, boom, I got so-and-so on the phone. Let's do this. But she said, he asked me, and I said yes. And then it became too much. All of them were doing a form, what many women do. They want to please their man. She thought, okay, I'll do this for him. This is going to make him happy. I love him. And then it just went too far. But did it really go too far when she finds herself out of her own mouth? This ain't Diva's mouth. Out of her own mouth, she finds herself at another man's freak off. So, you know, we got to go by what the people said out of their mouth. And that's why over here, I always bring up an article. And even when I bring up the article, people kill me. They still be like, Diva, you lying. This is what the people said out of their mouth. I'm not going by the breadcrumbs on the street. He did this, he did that. You know he did it. I don't know nothing. What I do know is, though, people try to rewrite history. I give it to the one assistant that got up there and said we was all Diddy bopping. He said we was all Diddy bopping. And they asked him, well, what's Diddy bopping? When we was drinking his Ciroc and taking substances. All of us. And you want to know how I knew that's the fact? Because when he got into it, I think he said he got into it with the chef and called the chef all kind of names. And Diddy came to him and told him, you can't be doing that. And then he said, you got to go get her a present. And he said out of his own mouth on the stand, this ain't Diva making nothing up, that he went and gave her a blunt. How would you know to come get Diva some Mary Jane if that ain't how I get down? All of them in that orbit was doing the most. They was acting crazy up in the mansion. Acting crazy. And then when some people had enough, they left. But just like you have relationships where you know the person ain't good or whatever, you keep going back, they ain't force you to go back. You calling them. And I don't know how somebody, and I know y'all love the victim thing, but how do you have boyfriends, but you being forced by Diddy and he lets you do nothing? But every time we turned around, we heard about some different boyfriends she had. And at the end of the day, she ended up dating the trainer. Y'all got to make it make sense. But if we ask people to rise above and make it make sense, then we victim shaming, we siding with Diddy, and all kinds of other stuff. This is dentist right now. I was going to do the story tonight, but then I got these other stories, but now we stuck on Diddy, so I'll push them to tomorrow night. There's the dentist that literally unalived his wife, sitting up in the jail, asking people in the jail to take other people out so that he could get out. And not one place in that article did they call that man a monster. The wife and him had 5 children. He unalived the wife and was cheating on the wife. He put cyanide in her protein shakes. Then he went to the hospital to finish her off. And nowhere in that article did I see them say this man was a monster. Nowhere.
It's crazy. I rarely even heard people call Dylan Roof a monster. And he raised a bunch of money. That's the sick part. And you know, I'm all for victims, but at some point it's like, when are we gonna recognize that some people are they're weaponizing the victim term for profit? I mean, at some point we gotta keep it real and just be honest. Some people are weaponizing the word victim for profit, clout, and financial gain. It's just where we at, and we gotta be vigilant at all times as a result of that, you know.
Absolutely. Measure Man,
Well,
I appreciate you Listen me tonight. I'm coming to you, Callie. What respectable man, knowing that all that trauma then would then sleep with her versus allowing her to heal? That's not a man, in my opinion. Alex is the hero. Well, we don't want to talk about that, though. We don't want to talk about that. What we also don't want to talk about is how all of them were sleeping with each other.
Yeah, I was going to say Alex was hired by Diddy to train her in his daughters, I think, or one of the kids, or his son, one of his sons or something. He was hired for one of the kids in Cassie. Yeah, so he worked there. So I honestly think that I don't even think she intended to be with Alex permanently. I just think that Diddy got embarrassed one good last time and he just quit talking to her for a while, and the next thing you know, she was pregnant for Alex, and then it was just over. That's my theory on what happened. Yeah, I don't think she got out or anything like that. I think he dumped her because he got upset about this trainer thing. But anyhow, one thing with this case, I will say that these women being from other communities, other ethnicities, brought more attention to this case than it would have been if this would have been two Black people. It just did. I'm sorry. And we got to be honest. If this were a non-Black man doing this to a bunch of Black women, we would be out in arms. We would be out in front of the courthouse. We would want him under the jail. So I think that that's another lens that we have to kind of look at, the reason why people got so emotionally invested, because I feel like in people's mind, this was a Black man attacking a woman from some other community that didn't look like him. And then Jane is also from another community, the second victim. So, and then Mia's claims he did something to her. This is also a woman from another community. So I felt like it just got a lot of attention that normally it wouldn't have got if it would have been two people that were of the same community. I think it's just something that just kind of strikes something in people when you kind of have this interracial like violence happening. So I think that is the reason why some of these other cases did not get this type of reaction, because we have to be honest. If any of these people had a victim or a couple of victims that were Black women, it would be a problem with the Black community. So, you know what I mean? So we have to also look at it from that perspective, going the other way.
I got thoughts on that, but Jason, you're new in the building. What do you want to add to this conversation? Are you there? Jason, we're not
While
here.
he's waiting to come up, it's somebody in the chat. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Give me a minute. Jason, we can't hear you. So maybe you need to go out and come back in, but I'm not hearing you at all if you're trying to talk to us. All right. So go ahead, Katrina, before I speak.
Okay, I'm sorry, Diva. I want people to realize in this chat, nobody is saying what Diddy was doing was innocent. But you can't bring all this up without having women, especially showing text messages that they was the one that was setting up these freak offs. So nobody is saying that we all love we happy Diddy got to loose or whatsoever. But you have to put yourself in that position. What if that was your son and he's getting charged with something that they couldn't prove, whether he did it or not? If you can't prove it in court, then it don't exist. And I'm not saying that he's the most innocent person walking around. Nobody on this earth is. But when y'all saying that we're taking up for him, that we're not taking up for him. We're just breaking the facts on how we see it in the courtroom and how it's played out. So we're not taking up for Diddy. We're just telling you exactly how the thing went. If you can't prove it, then it's not on us. But we're going to tell you exactly what we read and what we see. So stop saying that we're just in here taking up for Diddy. We walk around doing all this for Diddy. You need to really stop that. And I don't get into the chat and stuff like that, but that's really irritating because you got people thinking that we're taking up for Diddy. We're just stating the facts and we're going by what we're reading and what we're seeing in the courtroom. And they put themselves in that position. We didn't do this. We talking about the story that they did, not us. But that's
Thank
all
you.
I got.
Thank you. Jason, you're in the building. Maybe we can hear you now. Your thoughts?
Yes, Cassie was not a young 19-year-old that didn't know her way around the industry. She have dated someone that was also a millionaire before Diddy, which was 10 years older than her. So she was not clearly walking into this thing with a powerful rich man. 'Cause she already dated a powerful rich man before Diddy. You know, then then they kept playing that tape because why? They wanted to do psychological damage on the people and they succeeded. But they didn't succeed in getting the charges they wanted to be found guilty on because why? The evidence is the evidence. He was not convicted of what was on that tape. That tape should never even been admitted into a courtroom because the only reason why it was admitted to show almost 10 years worth of violence that he's never committed after those 10 years, and then you can sit up here and say about Jane attacked him first. Jane did brutal damage that will cause someone to attack you back, so we can't even use Jane because Jane have caused, and it seems like she was staging it so she can get him in court so she can have a testimony of him putting his hands on her. But the lawyers were so smart, she had no choice but to admit that she hit him first. But we're caught up in our feelings, and it's feelings over the law in a court of a public opinion. But one thing you don't understand is sometimes that courtroom may be unbiased and convict on the charges that are appropriate. And that's all I gotta say.
Well, you better talk to the people. Sometimes that court may be unbiased. And they listen. That one juror said he had 350 pages of notes. 350 pages. They wasn't expecting that outcome. But when you want to underestimate your opponents, that's what you get. You got to stay woke, especially when you're prosecuting a case as such. I'll go around before I close out. Felicia, your last final thoughts?
Thank you again, Diva. I think this is a great day. That Southern District of New York, I've been annoyed and frightened and disappointed, ever since the Jonathan Majors verdict. And I did follow the Combs case every day pretty much. And I suspect because, maybe you'll do a different show another time. I'd like to, follow more closely now to see what the fallout is going to be. I happen to think that Judge Subrahim's jury instructions are going to be up and discussed. There was a lot of issues with that. And I say that because Ghislaine Maxwell was also prosecuted by Maurene Comey, and they're looking to reopen her case. She's coming in on appeal on certain things that they said were in play for her that were not in play for the Combs case. So even though she has X amount of wealth, she didn't have the brilliant attorneys that Mr. Combs had. But she paid close attention. She paid close attention. And one final thing, I want to thank all of the content creators again who were out there in the rain and the heat and brought us the truth of what was going on in court and their points of view. And I want to thank you, Diva, for covering I don't know how many hours. We should all get a degree because we did the reading, we did the writing, we did the discussing. I sense victory for Mr. Combs in October, and it is truly my prayer for him that he goes into a serious rehab program. He gets probation. He gets to get a monitor. He has to do weekly drug testing. And I heard a lot of the comments. I'm not wanting to disagree, but yes, he is a violent man. He's got problems, and he needs to work on those problems. And those problems are not going to get better or be really attended to when he's locked up, because jail isn't rehabbing anybody. But thank you again. And thank you, panel. It was a good discussion.
A very good discussion. I'm gonna backtrack to Callie. And I will say this too. I think that, you know, yes, he needs extensive rehab, extensive. And I think that the substances, hey Winter, I think that the substances definitely didn't help his situation. Love you back, Pat. I see your message out there. Callie, your final thoughts?
Oh, with this whole thing, it kind of is what it is. I feel like people want, I guess I'm trying to understand, are people wanting the federal government to be able to frame people for a totally different crime? Because that's sort of like the argument that we're having here when people are like, oh, you're supporting Diddy. This could be, you could stick anybody in this particular situation.
Yeah.
I believe it was. It's the way that the legal system was being used. And this man, to say that this man has an enterprise of trafficking, where is all of the money that he's making from trafficking? Like, do people not understand that these things are businesses? What they were trying to do is take the law and twist it to be used for something that isn't a business. And the jury didn't go for it because that's not the way the law was really actually designed to work. We've all seen the movies. We've all seen the Lifetime movies. We've all seen the Dateline reports. We know that there are people who really are victims of this type of thing. Instead of us being glad that this man actually wasn't doing this and there aren't shipping containers of people going from Miami to New York, we are somehow trying to twist all of this around and in some way saying this man had some sort of enterprise that never made any money. The only people that got any money were the so-called victims. All he's doing is paying. That's not what a ring is. I'm trying not to say that word so much because I don't want to get you flagged, but I feel like at this point, people are just mad that they were wrong and they're not really thinking about what they're saying. Are you now saying that because you know that this man committed DV, that you want the federal government to frame him for something? Because that's essentially what this has become. Keep in mind, you want him, this is in the name of a person who walked away from this situation with $30 million who wasn't even married. It wasn't like this was her in her prenup that she get this money or whatever. This is a person who came back years later and essentially found the legal way to extort him. Yeah, and got 20 million from him and 10 from the hotel, which I'm still a little unclear why the hotel settled and gave her that money. I guess they just didn't want to be bothered with the whole thing.
No, Callie. Let me say this. Let's be clear. They were liable. How do you have security come up there? No. How do you have security come up there? We may not have been here today where we're at if that would have been reported. How do you have security come up there? They knew for a fact because they saw the video that he put his hands on her. And they didn't call the cops. They didn't put the right report in. Cops came. Nobody gets arrested. Nah, they were wrong. Listen.
No, but 1 million wrong, not 10. I know somebody that got hit by a train and they only got 1. 10? That's a huge settlement.
Well, here's the other thing too, though. Your workers took a bribe. Your workers took a bribe.
Company.
And your one worker filmed it on their phone and go home and show the wife. Then he gets on the stand talking about black eyes and the other people and all this other stuff, but that wasn't in your report.
Also, this is something that a lot of people, speaking of calling people monsters, that man sat right there and watched that happen to her and recorded it, and he was not going to lift a finger until she got on that phone and made a call. Nobody called this man a monster.
They pulled the footage later. He recorded it on his phone. He wasn't watching it in real time.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I know. From what I heard, he wasn't watching it in real time. He pulled the footage later. He pulled the footage later and made a copy.
Oh, so you're saying that he then, after this incident happened, he went back and rewinded and recorded it with his phone.
Right.
They
He
found
wasn't-
out that Diddy wanted to tape, and that's how they went.
Well, that's a different security guy. This one, the original tape that
He
we saw
wasn't
was recorded with an iPhone.
he wasn't recording it in real time. He recorded it on his phone after. He took a recording of the recording. He wasn't recording in real time because remember, he's in the video. Right? So he couldn't have
No,
been,
that's a different video. There's
I don't
two
know.
videos. There's a video that he recorded with his phone that is a shorter video of just her first initially what happened to her. Then there is a longer video where we see him, we see this whole argument over the phone, we see all of these other things.
Yeah,
So,
but to
I
my
don't know.
understanding, it is one video because the whole entire video is out there as one,
No,
not
it's two
chopped
different
up.
angles. No, it's from two different cameras. They
Okay, well, you know what? Either way, though,
phone. And
that's
there's a
fine.
video
I
from
concede.
the
I
hall.
concede and agree with you. I'll let that
Yeah.
go. But either way, the hotel owed money. They was wrong.
But 10 million worth of money? I
Listen,
mean, we've all known people that have had
You know,
lawsuits.
listen. They say when you do the punishment, you can't. You're not the one that's going to say what the when you do the crime, you're not the one that's going to be able to say what the punishment is. So the jury said give her 10 million. It is what it is.
Oh no, they settled. They never went to court.
Well, either way, they
Yeah.
settled for 10 million. It is what it is. But yeah, and the video. Let's be clear, it's horrific. It's horrific. So the hotel could have stopped that. It would have been a whole different story if in real time they wasn't because it's Diddy. And let's be clear, because Diddy spent, if they was doing 4 days and Cassie said they was doing it every week, that hotel was getting a lot of money from Diddy. So there was a lot of reasons for them not to even do anything real about that situation.
Oh, I don't think they knew. I don't think the security people ever told them. I don't think they knew until all this whole thing came out.
All right. Katrina, your thoughts?
Okay. This has been a stressing panel tonight. But I want to say I love being on your panel, Diva. I love my panelists, Felicia, Wayne, Jules, everybody, especially you, Diva. But it's just ironic that you had John Gotti that was acquitted or the charges didn't stick, and they was calling him the Teflon Don, and they was cheering for him in the streets, and he was a gangster. You know what I mean? He was a mobster. But you got Diddy with baby oil, and they want to grease him up in the system forever. I'm just saying it's ironic how they play. And I know a lot of people keep saying it's the race thing, but basically it is. Because look at this. This man was John Gotti. And these people did not want him to be locked up. He was actually celebrated. They were celebrating in the street with John Gotti. So you got Diddy, a black man, that we don't, like we said, Diddy have did some horrible things. We see the things that Diddy have done. But we know that it's in the facts that what John Gotti was doing with the drugs, the money, the prostitutes, and all that, and that's okay because it's John Gotti. But now you got Diddy, it's Sean Puffy Combs, which he have done things that he shouldn't have done in himself anyway, especially with his artists, which I know I never agree with that mess. But still, it's two different standards for two different people, and it's not because who the people are; it's because the color of the people are. And that's what people got to realize. Ain't nobody taking up for Diddy or anything like that. I'm just pointing at the facts. If you're going to bring this on me, you got all this on me. But these other people are out on the streets and ain't doing no time. Ain't got no out on bond. Ain't got no anklets or anything on, doing what they doing, living their life fancy free. But this man is locked up and can't do a darn thing on charges that you couldn't even prove. So we'll just see how it goes. And like I said, I love my panel. I love my my host, and I enjoy coming up talking. But that's all I got, Diva.
Thanks, Katrina. But Katrina, let me just, because you know I'm from New York. Let me just add a little something about John Gotti. The people loved him for a reason. So a little bit of a difference between John Gotti and Diddy. You know, a lot of Diddy artists are very upset because you know their what is it, royalties were stolen, so forth, so on, or whatever. You know, Diddy, on top of everything, you know, he was ruthless. He was ruthless. We can't ignore that. He was
Yeah, that's what I
ruthless.
was saying. Like, you
But
did
wait,
your
let me
artist
finish,
wrong.
Katrina, please. Let me just finish. He was ruthless in terms of, you know, how he did business or whatever. And so he, you know, there's a lot of people that just for those reasons, even if I don't even get into, you know, all this other stuff people say, just for business purposes, the people were pissed. So with John Gotti, though, this man on the 4th of July, he would throw the biggest barbecue known to mankind. The people loved him. So even though they knew this man was allegedly, or I could say, yes, he did it because he got convicted of it eventually, taking people's lives, out there being reckless and terrorizing the streets in the world as a gangster, but in his neighborhood and the things he did. And I forgot what mayor in New York stopped it. But I mean, this man, Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, he would pull up with trucks and just be giving turkeys to everybody.
So did Nino Brown.
But I'm just saying, John Gotti was known for like several things, but the people loved him because of what he did. It was almost like he was a gangster Robin Hood because of what he did in the community. You know, kind of doing these little things with the turkeys, whatever. And if I'm poor and I got 5 kids in my house and the holidays are coming and I don't know what I'm going to do, but then he comes around, he's giving these turkeys out, he's giving these food, he's giving out toys. He's Santa Claus to us. So that's a little bit of a difference, you know, with the John Gotti comparison. But Byron, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say one thing that this case did teach me more than anything is the power of social media. I really believe that Diddy was convicted in the world of social media a year before he was ever brought to court.
100%.
And and this just lets me know that mainstream media ain't got nothing on Diva. I think what you're doing is amazing. You bringing the truth to the people, and I definitely appreciate that. So shout out to you. And also, I think we're watching a paradigm shift in terms of media distribution. And I think it's going to be people like Diva. It's going to be a lot of these social media creators that are going to be leading the way when it comes to how we disseminate our news information. It ain't going to be CNN as much no more. I think they've almost gotten to a point to where they close. If they're not out of touch, they close to it. So I just want to say shout out to you, Diva. You're doing an amazing job. And thanks for having me to speak.
I appreciate you. I think you're 100% correct because as Felicia stated, I think if a lot of those people, the YouTubers, didn't have boots on the ground out there, I think the Southern District of New York would have got away with the shenanigans. Think they would have got away with the shenanigans. And I think, they that judge did have some people on the social media streets because, I said from the door, they was running a circus and that he was biased. And then next thing you know, one day he come up talking about he ain't biased. He was biased. He was biased. He let his slip show because every time you turn around, it was some shenanigans. That one juror, because it was a Diddy live in Jersey, Diddy live in New York, got kicked off right away. The other juror, you got a clear thing on your phone that somebody knows that you're a juror on this case and he got to stay. And now the Southern District of New York is mad. Well, y'all wanted him to stay, so there he stayed, and that's what y'all got. Julius, your final thoughts? I'm about to get out of here.
People need
and
to
I gotta
think
edit this title.
before acting. People need to think before acting. If you are a part of the shenanigans, best believe stuff in your closet is gonna come out too.
I appreciate you. Listen, guys, we only got to the one story. I almost only did this story, but I didn't know where it was going to go. But I think it went to a good place. We had good conversations and we kind of leveled up. So I appreciate y'all. Somebody said Sean Combs was a part of a cult either. I don't know. All right. Listen, but I thank you everybody for hanging in there with us, leveling up on the conversation. We got to talk. Listen, when the people fire you, it's a reason. It's a reason. So all of y'all that's saying that they made the mark and the jury got it wrong, well, even her employer says she got it twisted and let her go. Listen, guys, if y'all didn't hit that like button on the way in, hit the like button on the way out. Thanks for coming through. Good night and goodbye, everybody. Choo-choo.